Hi, my friends. How's everybody doing? I hear that there are so many people reaching out, and I am not only hearing it, I'm seeing it. I'm seeing so much of the devastation and so much being activated for each of us personally as we're witnessing the horrors, the devastation, the cruelty, the injustice that's happening all around us. And as I'm, hearing people reach out to me and talk about how devastated they feel, how heartbroken, and how fearful because of what's happening around us, and how they're not feeling safe, and how much of it we're feeling in our body. And so I really wanted to take some time to talk about these feelings in our body and our personal experience. And more specifically to those that, people that are healers, maybe even the women that are healers, and men too, they're not excluded from this conversation. But the healers in the room and those that have been devoted to service, to healing in whichever way that is, the caretakers, the therapists, the coaches. And for a lot of us in the capacity of healing and being devoted to awakening the consciousness, personally and of course collectively, we may be feeling it a little intensely in our own bodies. Because we're not just feeling our own personal activation, our own nervous system being activated with the lack of safety, the unknown, the feeling that we really, the exhaustion that brings as well. But we're also feeling the collective. And in the collective field, there is a lot that is not processed. There's a lot of unprocessed emotions, unprocessed grief, unprocessed rage, unprocessed pain, and unprocessed fear. There's many more, but those are kind of the ones that really stand out. And it's there mainly because individually we live in a culture that doesn't, really support processing our emotional body, processing our feelings, tuning in to what we're feeling. We live in a culture that has, for the most part, severed us from our emotional reality. And so what happens to all of those feelings, we hold them in our body personally, but then there's also a collective field. There's a collective field of fear, of grief, of pain, that is, if you can imagine, a vibratory field, vibratory frequency. And as a healer, I can tell you, no secret here, that we many times are processing the collective field, not just our own personal field, but also the collective. Because on a soul level, we have made that agreement. And so some of us may be conscious of that, some of us may not be conscious of that, some of us might not remember all the time when we're feeling really, really exhausted, when we're feeling, especially at this time, and we're seeing so much, where we're seeing so much happening, one thing after the other, and it's so available to us. And we need to stay informed. It's not that we're just going to put it away, close the door, and not see it, because that doesn't really serve the greater purpose of the shift that we're in and the transition that we're in. But it's noticing if what we're feeling, if we're waking up and we're completely exhausted, if we're waking up and we're moving into hopelessness and the fear, our nervous systems, all of this type of dysregulation, if it's so overwhelming, then we need to actually make sure that we are taking care of ourselves, because again, it might be that you're processing the collective. And there are many of us that are processing the collective, and this is a really important piece. It's a really important piece, because every time we do the grief work, every time we do the anger, the rage, and even the fear, and we move through it, we allow ourselves to move through it, we allow ourselves to be with it, it's clearing part of the collective. And so as you're anchoring, as you're allowing that to be cleared through you, and you're anchoring in the love, anchoring in the essence, anchoring in the peace, moving through that, then that also gets transmitted into the collective. And so then you're bringing another level of peace, of light, if you may, into that collective. But it's not about just staying positive and, just being with the light, because we need to process the material, compost all of that which most of our culture and society and patriarchy doesn't really pay attention, and is really, really good at avoiding feelings, emotions, and facing our pain and our shadows. And so, and even many spiritual paths still do that. And so in the path of the feminine, it is so critical that we dive in and descend into what we're experiencing, what we're feeling, in order to allow it to transmute, to allow ourselves to bring the compassion, the love, and the healing to it. And it's a process of allowing. It's not about doing, and it's not about getting rid of something. It's really about transforming, allowing, feeling, being with, and then what happens is we come into greater union with our light, with our soul, with our essence, with the essence of our soul. That is where the peace is rooted. That is where the love is rooted. It's that divine essence of our being. And then we can actually be in peace, be in joy, be in the love, and feel the safety, but not because our circumstances change, but because we're able to connect and access that within ourselves and anchor that on the planet, not just for ourselves, but for the planet, and anchor that light on the planet. And so many of you healers may not know that level of intensity might be what's happening for you. And so I don't think it's spoken about enough in healing circles. And I really wanted to bring light to that, because sometimes for me and others that I know, that I'm in touch with, it's very intense, and we have to consciously take time to address what we're feeling, what we're experiencing. The grief, there is tremendous grief that is happening in the collective, because we are watching, experiencing, seeing, and not just right now, we've been for a while seeing the complete dismantling of a system. And in that dismantling, we're seeing like the true colors of some of the hatred, some of the really dark aspects of the system that we've been living in. And so as we're noticing more and more, it brings up grief of what we've had to endure, of what the cruelty that we're seeing around us, the lost dreams. And it's really important to give ourselves that time to grieve, that time to take care of our emotional journey and our nervous system as well. Really important to take time to process. And so I wanted to bring that out to healers, because especially if you're actively working in the capacity of caregiving or healing or therapy, or, you know, any capacity where you're working with others, and it's very difficult to 1 minute be watching the demise on your phone and the next minute having to walk into a session with someone or hold a group or hold a collective in some way. And so giving your time space to acknowledge what you're feeling, not putting it away for later. And you may not know in that moment, as a personal, as a collective, it doesn't matter, because on some level, if you're able to process, you're processing most likely more than just your individualized share. Because at one level, where it's the collective, it's all of us. And again, healers have taken that on because that's their passion. That's what we do. That's what we're here for. And as we're bringing in, on a whole other level, we're bringing in the new era of feminine sovereignty, as I call it, of the love, of the equality, the justice. And we're kind of walking in between the worlds, because there's a part of us that feels greatly the death, the grief, and the fear that it activates because of the unknown. And then there's the other part where we have the vision, or we've been given the vision, and we also know and feel in our bones what we want to give birth to, and consistently are giving birth to that, perhaps individually through sessions with others, or collectively, or how we write, or how we just envision that on a daily basis for the planet and for each other's and for our communities and for our friends and family. And so healers are walking in between the worlds. You're walking in between the two worlds, and in the process of death and rebirth. And I want to remind everyone that we are in winter still. We're in winter, and winter is a time of going inward. Winter is a time in many ways of scarcity, meaning that in the ancient times, not today, because today most of us have many conveniences and privileges, but in earlier times, winter was a time where we didn't know if we were going to survive winter, of the harvest, of the crops, of the foods. And in many ways, we're collectively in a winter right now as well, because we don't know, there's the possibility of how are we going to survive the political agenda and all of the other crises, ecological crisis, that we're seeing. And so we're in winter still. And winter is very different than spring or summer. Winter, we need to pause. We need to slow down. We need to feel, release. It's a time of letting go of old forms, releasing all the leaves on our tree. We're releasing. We don't need to carry that into the next creation. And in doing so, strength and perseverance can grow within us. And these become our companions in the winter. This deep strength within us of resilience. And also this deep surrendering into the unknown. Because we don't have a choice. Because we don't have what it takes to go out there and just do, right? It's a time of going in and resourcing from within. And not just personally, but where it opens up to the collective, to the essence, to the divine source, that primordial source that gives rise to all of creation. And so now in winter, we can really do well with resourcing ourselves, with slowing down. And we're coming up to Imbolc in a few, probably about a week or so. We're coming into Imbolc, which is like halfway to spring. But we're still in the dark. And we're still finding our way and getting comfortable with the unknown, getting comfortable with not having the answers, but still connecting with the principle, the light within us, what's important for us, which we see thousands and thousands of people doing that all around, protesting and speaking out for what's important. So it's like, what's important? What is the essence of what I want to bring through in my own life and for the planet, right? And as healers, of course, we're also giving birth to that light and holding that vision, which goes a long way in manifesting that vision. Right? We have to anchor that, and then doing the work ourselves. And so I wanted to just invite you to do a very short process with sounding. One of the ways that you can support yourself during this time and resource, of course, is going into nature, sitting under a tree, connecting your feet with the ground and really allowing any of the separation to dissolve, and knowing that your body, because that's what's going to get hit the most, your body physically, dysregulation, nervous system dysregulation, fatigue, headaches, all sorts of different symptomology that can just be a lot of this energy and a lot of what's happening. And we can move through it, digest it, metabolize it through our emotional body, through what am I feeling, what's happening for me, what is this bringing up for me? Because it's not personal. If it's bringing it up for you, it's bringing it up for the collective. And so nature, being close to nature, if you have access to that, and also this practice that I want to share with you, which is a very, very simple practice of sounding. Sound is, if you've watched many of my videos, sound and using our voice is primordial transformation. It's one of those tools that we have, that we carry with us, that our ancient ancestral mothers knew and used, and sounding. Not any particular language or words, just sounding. And so there's 3 sounds that I want to share with you in the 3 womb process, which is our head womb, our heart womb, and our sacral womb. And if you want to do it with me, just allow yourself to bring your feet to the ground, and just placing your hands on your thighs, face down to the earth and on your body. Closing your eyes if you feel comfortable, closing your eyes. And we're going to start envisioning our head. And our head, there's a head womb, and the head womb energetically. And we're just going to do this sound 3 times. And of course you can do it longer, but 3 times to help to dissolve some of the noise that we may be absorbing. And so this sound is going to be the E sound, E, in whatever tone feels comfortable for you. There's no right or wrong. E, that works too. So whatever you want. So here we go. And take a deep breath. And allowing also your body to sway organically. It's not something that you're doing or that you're moving on purpose. Just allow it to sway organically, if it does. Here we go. One more. And deep breath. I'm just taking a pause here. I'm bringing our hands to our heart. And then we're going to do the ah sound. Here we go again. And just noticing, allowing yourself to connect with your body, your feelings, your sensations. And then we're going to bring our hands onto our lower abdomen or sacral and just breathing there. Sacral womb. Just feeling all that energy within your body, also connecting with the earth. The golden threads from your body going into the earth. And feeling held and supported and at one with the earth. Because your body is earth. Your body is earth and air and fire and water and ether, consciousness. And so just connecting with the earth. As part of you. Holding you, supporting you. This is not something that you're meant to do alone or feeling alone. This is something that we're here to do together, and to do it together with the earth, allowing the earth to compost and metabolize the collective energy that's surging now. And so we're not here to do it alone. And so allow yourself, even if you do this practice, which is a very simple practice to do once a day, a few times a day, to bring your nervous system into regulation, to release, to disperse whatever is not needed, whatever is weighing on you that's not needed, to allow it to transform, to allow it to transmute, and more importantly, to connect and divide the separation between you and the earth, between you and your soul, between you and your power and your sacred power. So many, many blessings. I hope that we're all staying, resourcing ourselves as best as possible, because we need each and every one of you. And also, if these are practices of the lineage of feminine medicine, if that speaks to you, you can join us on AMA, which is starting again. It's our online community for women, sisterhood community, and to step into and activate and to remember these practices of the feminine. And so you can leave a comment, and I will reach out to you if that is something that speaks to you. Stay safe. Many blessings.